Testing, testing. How you doing? How you doing? You good? Guess it's going to be in Italian. Is it okay? We're going to do a little Italian up here. So I'm Randall Birnberg, and this is pretty much what I live by, trying to find out who I am and why I exist. And before we begin, I know there's been lots of thanks to the organizers of this thing, but I want to thank three people that brought you here, that brought 26 speakers here. That's that woman right there. Please stand up, Romy. It's their daughter, Bella. And it's that guy behind the camera, Charlie. Those people made this happen, period. Okay, and then there were other people after that. But they started this process. And they're busy. They've got conferences all year round, England, all over the place. So they deserve it. Okay, great. Before I begin, also, I want to say that you guys got a lot of information today. I got a feeling you were bombarded with lots of stuff, right? Yeah, okay. So everything you heard today and what you're going to hear tomorrow, I'm going to give you the reality. 90% of you are going to go home, woo, man, I feel so good. As the days go on, 5 days down the road, over 90% of you won't change anything. Sorry about that. That's a fact. But the good news is I'm going to give you some ways to kind of change those things. Okay? And one of the reasons why we can't change things is because of something called epigenetics. Now, I don't know, some of you know about it. Some of you know, yeah? Good. Bruce Lipton is kind of the king of epigenetics. And he says that, like genetics, he says that your experiences growing up basically form who you are today. And the experiences of your parents and their parents form who you are today. Okay? And it's inside you. It's a genetic story. It's epigenetics. It's actually above genetics, epi. Okay? So, what do we do with that information? What do we do? So here's what happens. When you're a kid, you're downloading stuff from the time you were in your mom's stomach, the third trimester, until about the age of 8. You were on download mode. You were taking in stuff. What did your parents say to each other? What did they do to each other? And you just took it in, right? And then you formed something called paradigma, okay? And with these paradigms, you grew up, and by the time you're 35, 95% of the things you say, do, feel are subconscious. You're not even there. You're brushing your teeth, you do it. You're driving a car, you're doing it. Those arguments you get in with your partner, that's a download. They downloaded something from their parents, you downloaded something, and suddenly you're in an argument. And it's very often about money. Money is one of the biggest stories between couples because we grow up with different versions of money, right? My mom and dad gave me, there's not enough. Never enough. Turn off the lights, we're not Edison. Starving children in Africa. Remember that one? Who's heard that one before? By the way, my eating everything on my plate has nothing to do with starving children in Africa. But this is a download, right? Money doesn't grow on trees. How about that one? Well, you know what? It does, because money's made of paper. Paper is wood, and wood is a tree. So yes, it does actually grow on trees. Okay, so my girlfriend and I, so we're sitting at the kitchen table, and she tells me, we've been together 8 years, and she's the money maker in the family, or she's the money handler in the family. She gets my check. I get 500 euros a month from her, Taschengeld, like pocket money. I'm good. It's good. That's her strength. My strength is this, right? I'm not the best with money because of that download, right? So I always avoided money because there was never enough. I've been in debt most of my life from that download. Okay? That's it. Sister Valeria in the 2nd grade. Sister Valeria. I came to school with my math homework. Sister Valeria goes, Randy, this is it? I said, yeah. She says, you'll never learn math. Well, guess what? I avoided paying bills because I never learned math. You'll never learn math. Those are downloads. So we're sitting at the kitchen table about 8 years ago, and Katya puts the electric bill on the table. 20 euros more. Rand, electric bill. I went into my do we have enough download. Katya went into another download because when she was growing up, her parents were very successful money makers, but they never paid their bills. So the Finanzamt, what's Finanzamt? Normally I'm in German here. What's Finanzamt in English? The IR, tax people, IRS, thank you. The tax people actually were knocking at Katya's door when she was 7 years old, wanting to get in. So she remembers money, but in debt. I remember money, but not enough of it. So now she puts the bill on the table. I go into my download. Do we have enough? She goes, I don't know. Are we in debt? And we get into an argument over that download. And I can guarantee you, the arguments you get into, the negative feelings that you have, those negative emotions that you have, by the way, I think somebody talked about this. They're not bad. Negativity means something's up here. You know, something may have to change. Fear, I love fear. Actually, fear tells me to get out of the road when there's a truck coming at me. So fear is not a bad emotion at all. It saves my life. Okay? But I want you to take a look at your lives, take a look at your childhoods, and think about what you heard as a kid, because that's inside you. And how did your parents grow up? You know, I live in Germany. I've been there for 20 years. You know, I'm an American. I go into a Starbucks. Hi, how you doing? You know, I'm that guy. And in Germany, you know, you go into a Starbucks and it's Guten Tag, was kann ich für Sie tun? It's a little different. I mean, it's not a judgment. That's just the way the culture is. My culture, we're racist. Think about it. Think about who we got at the top there. How do you think he got there? Epigenetics, 300 years of slavery. I would tell you, there's some racism there. 67 years ago, black people couldn't vote. So we got this epigenetic story. We grew up with blacks are murderers, blacks are this, blacks are this. This is the things. Our prejudices come from our childhood. So I'm going to challenge everybody here, really. You know, you're going to walk out of here after 2 days, and I want you to really remember this one at the end of the day, is if you have a negative emotion, if you're feeling like you want to argue with your partner, your boss, your kids, anything, go back and go, where did I hear that one before? Where did I get that from? Okay? Now, you know, they said, Chantel said that I was raised in an Italian mafia family. I literally grew up with my grandfather hitting my mother at the kitchen table. Okay? He just hit her. My mother brought that down the line. There were 4 boys. What did she do? She hit me. And not just with her hand. My mother would hit me with a brass candlestick holder. Yeah, it hurt. And then I found an ally in my uncle. And by the way, there's 2 things in a mafia family that don't go. Emancipated women, this was back then, and gay men. Gay doesn't work in the mafia family. So my uncle was gay. So my uncle kind of took me out of my mom's house, and he was my ally. But what did my uncle do? He abused me. Okay? That's what happened. So what happened to me is, and I think people talked about it today, is I didn't learn to love myself. Because that's it. At the end of the day, it's all about you. Happiness, I say, is an inside job. Inside you. I mean, you may hear a lot of things in these 2 days, but at the end of the day, you're going to go home and you have to deal with your kids and your wives and your husbands and your boss. It's all about you. Okay? Now, I came up with a little plan here, if I may. Uh-oh. Help. Next. Just go to the next slide. Okay. Please. No, not that one. The next one. Okay. So everybody talked about, nope, the one before that one. That comes next. Has 4 bubbles. Anyway, I came up with a little plan here. Oh, here we go. I came up with a little way to kind of divide your life up, because we all have 4 things in our life that we have to deal with. It's that simple. Family, me, my friends, and my work. Okay? And when I work with people, I ask them, where do you need help? Right? And very often I got people who tell me, because I've been working in German businesses for 20 years. I started out as an English teacher in German businesses and then decided I had to make them happy because they weren't happy at work. So I started out, so I deal with people here, and I have a client, I'll give you one little example. She came to me and said, I have a business partner and it's not working. I don't get enough recognition from my business partner. And I said to her, let me ask you a question. What's your relationship with your parents? Oh, I hate my father. I haven't heard my father in so long. She went here. And this is where it all starts. All this other stuff, yeah. But if you don't have self-love, what you got from your family, then you ain't going nowhere, okay? So what happened to me? What did I do because I got sexually abused by my uncle and physically abused by my mother? I took drugs. I had to numb the pain. 1976, my brother came home from college. And back in those years, there were 2 things that were popular. Health food, those are like the health food years, and LSD and cocaine. So drugs and health food. 1976, basically my brother came to me. I was 14. He said, Rand, come in the basement. I want to show you something I learned in college. Went down there, sat me in the bathroom down there. He said, roll up your sleeve. This is going to be great. Rolled up my sleeve. Took a spoon out, put some powder in there, a little piece of cotton, a little water, lit it, put a needle in there, and at 14 years old, I put cocaine in his arm. And that whole summer, I was doing cocaine. It was a great summer. I was high. But what happened was I was numbing the pain from my abuses. This is why people drink very often. They numb the pain. So then 16 years old, my cousin who came back from Vietnam, we're sitting in his pickup truck, Michael, and he's doing heroin. I don't know if you know, but the government, our wonderful government back in the States, gave the soldiers drugs in Vietnam to fight. And a lot of them came back heroin addicts. So my cousin was sitting there, and I said, Mike, heroin, it's addictive, huh? He goes, no, I'll try it. I said, okay. Put out this arm. Tried heroin once. I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it because I just was like 4 hours going like this. Not a good story. So as I got older, I realized, wait a minute, this is not it. I started therapy when I was 19 years old, and I started to go back and realize what had happened. And one of the biggest stories of self-love is forgiveness. You got to forgive those people who harmed you. So when I was 23 years old, I went to my mother. The therapist said, go to your mom and, talk to her about your abuse. Hi, Mom. I got to ask you a question. When I was a kid, did you hit me? Yeah. Why? You deserved it. That's my mother. I said, okay. I love you anyway. And I hugged her. 23 years old. I forgave that story. Then, my uncle, 1999, the year I came to Germany, he passed away. My uncle was dying. 3 months, I went out to visit him in Indiana. He was a millionaire. He made a lot of money. And we're sitting at the kitchen table 1 month before he died. And I said to my uncle, Uncle Joe, when I was a kid out at this farm where we were actually, it happened, I said, did you abuse me? Because I have a vague memory of it. And he said, hey, if I abused you, you wouldn't have a vague memory of it. Can you imagine? What an arrogant asshole, right? Oda? And I said to him, Uncle Joe, I love you anyway, and hugged him. 1 month later, he died. Done. Done for me, because it's about me. It's not about him. It's about me. I got to live with me. I don't have to live with him. Okay? So when I talk about this self-love story, is we have these things in our childhood that we really, they work their way into our adulthood. Okay? And it's up to you. Happiness is an inside job, and it's your choice to take what you're learning from here in these 2 days and form a new habit. Okay? Because, like I said, where I want to get you guys is self-love. Okay? Now, how do you form a new habit? Okay, there's a lot of science on forming new habits. They're not easy. Change is not easy. Matter of fact, the only person that likes change is a wet baby. Right? We don't know about change because we're so subconsciously programmed. Change isn't easy. Okay? So first, what you have to do, and I think a lot of this was talked about, is what's up? What's going up with my life? Where am I not happy? Is this self-reflection or mindfulness? Where am I not happy? In those 4 areas, where do I need change? Okay? Then you take a look at what change you need. What is it? What you got to know, is it something that happened in your childhood? What was it? Ask your parents. Ask your grandparents. You know, and a lot of this is social. It's not just parents. It's where you grew up. So you have to understand, Germany. I don't know about the Dutch, but since I lived in Germany, since the year 300, Germany has been at war. Whether it was religious wars, whether it was other countries. The French came in and then left. The Roman Empire came up and then left. The Ottomans came over and left. The Scandinavians tried to come down and couldn't get in. So Germany has been at a schism there for 1,700 years. So the one word I have for the German culture, and again, this is not a prejudice, this is a reality, this is epigenetics, is borders. Think about it. My neighbor has a Porsche and not me. You're setting a border. Gratitude exercises that I'm sure somebody did here. Gratitude's all about loving what you have so you don't have to put up a border. So you don't have to compare with other people. That's it. If you find yourself comparing with other people, you got an issue. Simple as that. If you find yourself not being able to be happy for someone else's success, you've got an issue. You've got to be happy for other people's successes. Simple as that. And if you can't, go back. Who taught me that? Where did I get that from? So once you go back, then you have to work on changing it. And you have to start a new habit. Gratitude, the gratitude stories, I'm sure you heard for the last 5 years, my girlfriend and I, every single night, we do this gratitude exercise. I call it WWW, what went well. And you speakers and coaches out there, you can use it. It's okay. What went well? WWW, right? Every night, 5 years, my girlfriend and I, 3 things that went well from the morning until us in bed. And the first thing my girlfriend Katya always says is, your espresso this morning. Because I got one of those little percolators, these little, not a button guy. I make my own coffee. And she loves it. And then she says, I'm grateful that my father said he loved me today. And I'm grateful that my customers love my tomatoes. Because my girlfriend works here in the Netherlands, in the Naaldwijk, up in the Westland. Honigtomaten. You guys, the Dutch know the honigtomaten? She sells them in Germany. And I'm grateful that I was with my daughter today. I'm grateful that I talked to my mother. And I'm grateful that I changed a life with one of my clients. And then we kiss and we go to sleep. It's a beautiful story. It's not just a beautiful story to do it with your partner, do it with your children. How many people here have children? And you have dinner with them every night? Okay, here's your new ritual. This is the habits. The habit is formed with something before it or after it. It's called a cue. You cue the habit up with something before. So Katya and I tied gratefuls with bed. When we're in bed, it's automatic. So now you make it with the children. While you're having dinner with them, you're going to make a little game. Right after dinner, you say, we're going to do this WWW to the kids. What went well in school that day? Because normally, if you ask your children, how was school? I hate my English teacher. Bus was late. They go into this negativity. But you're going to change that because you're the parent, remember? Epigenetics. What your kids are getting from you, they're going to do later in life. So you're the ones, you parents out there. So you make a game. You say, what went well at school? And I'm going to talk about work. You tell them what you're going to do. And then you say, this is a little psychological strategy, I'm first. Forget about it, right? Forget about it. Kid's going to go, no, you're not first. I want to go first. Okay, go on. And you let him go. And you let him go first. And you do this as a ritual. You tie it with dinner. Or you tie it with bedtime at night. You read them a story. Think about their day. What went well? Okay? These is how rituals are started. You have to cue it with something else. It gets attached to something else. How many people here floss their teeth? Floss. Okay, how many people do it before they brush their teeth? How many after? Right? Try doing it the other way. It's weird. Because you've tied flossing with brushing your teeth. Okay, that's the connection. So habits, a cue, number one. Repetition. Repetition, it has to go over and over and over again. Okay? Has to go over. And after a while, you'll start to appreciate the new habit. You have to reward yourself when you start a new habit and you've formed a new habit. You've got to give yourself a reward. Eat some chocolate. Okay, give yourself a reward. You deserve it. And I have the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time I'm on time. I'm there. I'm reliable. I call my mother. She's 88 years old. Every Sunday night at 10 o'clock, I call my mother. I've been doing this for 20 years. If I'm a minute late, honey, you're 1 minute late. Minute early, same story. At the end of every phone call, my mother says, can't wait till next week. Positive anticipation, another psychology story. Okay? All right, I'm going to leave you with some takeaways. Really quick. I got time for takeaways? I got 5 minutes. Thank you. Perfect. Make your bed. It's a simple one. How many people here make their bed? Good. Those of you that make their bed, I want you to do one more thing. Thank it. Turn around and go, thank you, bed. Because that bed gave you 8 hours of wonderful sleep. Or I talked to Charlie. Charlie, how many hours of sleep did you get last night? 4. Did you thank your bed? I wouldn't either. For 4 hours of sleep, I wouldn't thank it either. But teach your children, make their bed, and thank it. It's a psychological thing. You've accomplished the first thing of the day, and you're thanking it. Okay? Number 1, make your bed. If you don't make your bed, start. And write me an email after 14 days and tell me how it feels. That inner voice that you talked about, that inner voice that keeps coming in, you're not good enough, I'm too big, I'm too fat, I'm blah, blah, blah. Say, I am enough. That's that inner voice. That's that inner voice from childhood telling you you shouldn't love yourself. Well, guess what? We're living big, as they say. We have a great life in Europe. Great life. You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about, Go to the store and look what you can buy. You got money in your pocket, everybody here? Health. How many people are Dutch? Okay. 5th happiest nation in the world and the happiest children. Keep it up. I say giving is living. If you're not feeling good, you're having kind of a bad day. I mean, I'm a realist. I'm not a Pollyanna. I'm a realist. I have a bad day. But when I have a bad day, I give something to someone. There's a guy who sits out next to our health food store in Aachen, and he sits on the floor, and I know he wants a coffee with cream because I give him a coffee with cream before. If I'm in Aachen and I'm having a bad day, I go give him something. And it makes me feel good. Okay? We're actually happier giving than we are receiving. Science, but it's a win-win. It's a win-win. He's getting something, I'm getting something. Okay? So give. If you don't have people in your life that don't support you, who you are when you make changes, we say in German one way, tschüss. Say goodbye to these people. Say goodbye. You don't need them. Hang out with people who support who you are. That's it. You don't need them. Don't think you have loyalty to these people. If they don't support your changes, drop them. I stopped drinking 3.5 years ago, alcohol. Do you know how many friends in Germany I lost? I didn't drink because I didn't stop because I'm an alcoholic. I stopped for my daughter. I don't know what it is in the Netherlands, but in Germany they drink at 16. They sit in the park all summer long with a case of beer, and I didn't support that. So I couldn't tell my daughter to stop drinking if I'm still drinking. So, parent as role model. Don't expect your kid to do what you do. I mean, expect them to do what you do, not if you're telling them to do something else. Well, you're a kid. You have to do that. Support your children with being a role model for them. So I stopped drinking. Katya and I stopped drinking. And you can't believe how many fights we don't have anymore. Or little arguments because of either the night of alcohol or the day after when you're both feeling like crap. And then my 3 W's. This is the what went well. So you start your day making your bed. You're throughout the day, you're hanging out with cool people. You're giving. You're not letting those inner voices tell you you're not good enough. Okay? And you end your day with thankfuls. Okay? If anybody wants my presentations, I'll give them to anybody because although, I'm a coach, speaker, all that stuff, I just want you to be happy. I mean, I'm good with money. It's all good. I'm a happy guy. I just want you guys to change, and I know how difficult it is because it was difficult for me. I just want you guys to do it. So if anybody wants my presentation, even the speakers and coaches here, you can have it. Use it. Okay? Go change some lives out there, you people. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. You got it. You can't. The thing is, having something that's not finished, forgiveness just puts a cap on it. It ends something. If you had some kind of abuse, I mean, forgiving, if it's a little forgiveness, but I'm talking about some abuses. It's always going to stay with you. And depending how young you were when it happened, it's in there and you don't even know it. It comes up in situations when you don't even know it. Yeah. But you know what I mean? Depending how young the trauma was, is how deep it is. The younger, the deeper. Like? Yeah, but my mom had good intentions. It wasn't her fault that she did what she did. I don't blame my mother. It was this thing that got down the line. She thought she was raising a good child. She thought this was the thing to do. I can't blame my mother for wanting to raise us children. You have to, and this is where empathy comes in. Somebody's going to talk about empathy today or tomorrow, or the empathy's on the table. If you can get in the shoes of other people. My mother had a terrible childhood. Can you imagine what she went through? And I have empathy for my mother. And at the end of the day, forgiveness is about empathy. I always tie empathy and compassion together. Empathy is feeling like someone else feels. Compassion is doing something about it. Compassion is the giving part of empathy. Empathy is great. Oh, I really know how you feel. Well, I've been there too. Can I get you a cup of coffee? It's the giving part. Empathy, compassion, they go together. They have to go together. Those of you that are bosses here, company people, having empathy for an employee, okay, great. Yeah, I know how you feel. I know. Yeah, I was in the same. My kid I stayed up all last night with my kid too. I know how you feel. Why don't you leave early today? That's the compassion part of empathy. Yes, I got to go. Anybody ever wants to talk? Randall Birnberg, Google me, write me. I generally get back in 24 hours. I'm there. Okay, thank you.